Stop! Do you see? Do you see why I can't let this series die? Talk shit to me down in the comments. That's right, Staunch Gang. We are back with yet another abysmal hot take into the endlessly aggressive and endlessly 7th grade nonsensical soundscapes of my past fading nu metal memories that may have been better left in the dark, as until now, especially with this group, I'm telling you, I had completely forgot about Workhorse movement. Oftentimes with this series, I do my best to find attributes that said groups, that I like, or, at least attributes from said groups, at the very least, that I can understand. Yet I also constantly get accused of being a simple hater, or just not getting it, which, hey, sure, why not, I guess. But I really do try, and this time, I vowed to push past my first, second, and maybe even third listening, and really dig into Workhorse Movement's recordings in hopes of certain tunes growing on me, or hey, maybe I'll even become a Workhorse Movement fan, right? Let's give it a shot. Shit. The Workhorse Movement was comprised of vocalist Matt Myron Ray, guitarist Jeff Freedom Piper, drummer Joe Makey, bassist Peter Bever, and there was even another vocalist at some point. But we'll get to that later. Now, they got their start in 1994 when Ray, Piper, and Makey started jamming while college students in Michigan. Piper was studying jazz theory and guitar, and, Ray was working up to be a professor, apparently. Pretty interesting story with these guys all said and done. But, together they started playing small shows in the area while at college, and would eventually self-release Dopamine in 1995. And much like Mushroom Head, I found Workhorse Movement's first release to be their overall best. There's a lot going on here, especially with the jazz-infused kind of stuff and the funk-laden tunes, really sounding unique at moments, and then, kind of not so unique at other times. But overall, I'd say it's a solid debut, and I think they were called something different. I don't think they were called Workhorse Movement at this time, but, they eventually did change their name. And they would acquire a second vocalist in Chris Sparks, who was formerly just a fan of the group. That's pretty interesting as well. The band would eventually relocate to Detroit in 1997 after they all kind of dropped out of school, and they would sign to Overcore Records, where if you're from the area, you know that record label. And they signed there in 1998, where they released a 5-song EP called Rhythm and Soul Cartel. Now, I could not find this recording anywhere, but from what it looks like, a lot of these tracks were re-recorded for their follow-up major label debut for Roadrunner Records that was entitled Sons of the Pioneers. If I somehow missed it, if the recordings are out there, please tag below. Roadrunner Records at the time was promoting these bands left and right, believe me, and Workhorse Movement would turn up on tours like Tattoo the Earth, and especially on multiple metal compilations. I specifically remember the compilation The Hard and the Heavy. Does anybody else remember this thing? And it was around this time that I started to see their name on t-shirts and flyers, and even a few music videos out there. Most notably, I recall downloading the song Traffic off of Napster because it had Esham on it. Yeah, I'm old, guys.
No more hardcore, everybody gets off like my man every night when his girl gets off. Get lost in the sauce, now you can't find your way out. Drugs don't play out, the habits don't pay out.
That's probably like the one track from the guys that I still remember, that I listen to more than anything. But I've got to say, man, as much different elements that the band brought to the table here, the nu metal vibes are extremely heavy, even though they said they didn't want to be labeled as a nu metal band, as most nu metal bands claimed back when, but hey, it's unavoidable here. And in my opinion, man, these guys are one of the cringiest nu metal bands to have been around at the time. And, most of, if not all, the raps are just completely mediocre at best. While the rest of it fails to live up to the potential that was there, you can almost hear better bands that influenced them here. Definitely, there's some Helmet influences. There's still some, heavy funk, and even a kind of stoner metal vibe at times, but, not the good kind. Here, it sounds more like that newer Kid Rock song, you know what I'm talking about?
Ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live.
fact, them being from the same area, I guess that kind of makes sense. But of course, a major point I always come to in these videos is what the fuck do I know? Workhorse Movement's major label debut was well received by fans and even had some love from critics, ironically, and was even a major success overseas. You know, and over the band's short career, they managed to tour with major bands like Slipknot, Machine Head, Vanilla Ice when he was doing his new metal thing, and I don't know, they probably toured with Nonpoint or some shit. I couldn't find any explanation as to why the band broke up, as they kind of just dissolved near the end of 2000, but nearly all of the band left to start another group called Dirty Americans, and there the band had a more palatable radio rock sound and overall look. So maybe they were just kind of tired of the new metal thing, I don't know. I certainly was around this time, and although there were certainly worse new metal bands out there, I felt I had to touch on this group, as I find them just so forgettable. And, you know, I had to really search to find redeeming qualities here. I honestly feel this time around, some of you may agree with me, but again, what the fuck do I know? There is an interview out there where the band states, if we ever find ourselves recording the same albums over and over again, or if we're writing the same type of music over and over again, we're probably going to break up. So I guess it all makes sense why the band did eventually break up. Honestly, guys, I always try to look objectively at anything these bands may have contributed to the scene that stood the test of time. And yet, again, I have failed to find anything here. I guess certain sounds still kind of remain in modern day garbage, but it's not like you can call that a direct contribution. And, you know, at Workhorse Movement's best, we got fleeting vibes from Helmet, Faith No More, Infectious Grooves, hell, even Life of Agony. And I do think there's something to their self-released stuff. But at the band's worst, well, let's just say it makes sense why literally nobody talks about these guys, and why they are basically, totally, completely forgotten outside of Detroit. What do you think? Am I wrong about Workhorse Movement? What new metal bands do you consider to be the worst? Let me know, and please, be nice. These are all just my opinions of bands I once used to listen to, ages ago. Plenty more coming from the channel, dudes. I very much appreciate every single one of you watching. Follow me on Instagram, and again, leave a comment below. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. And until next time, guys, don't forget to rewind. New metal!